Have you guys ever thought about a person in your life, like a person that you're friends with, right? You're friends with this person and you were thinking about this person, like maybe the interactions that you had with this person and you just started analyzing sort of how they showed up within your guys' friendship and just different things that they've done within your friendship. And then you're sitting there, right? And then it just clicks. You just have this sudden realization. You're like, damn, I don't think that bitch likes me. You're like, wait, I don't think she fucks with me. I know, babe. It's okay. I too have had this realization, specifically with this one girl in my life who I thought she was a friend and I thought she was very close to me, but I was wrong. I'm sorry that was a long ass intro, guys. I apologize. But enough of my yap. Go grab some coffee or tea. I have my tea with me. I have my little crackers. Go grab your snack. Get yourself comfortable and let's actually get into the story of how I found out one of my friends genuinely hated me the entire fucking time. So we're gonna travel back in time to my sophomore year, around 2021, 2022 time, right? We'll call this girl Tay. So as I mentioned before, this is my sophomore year. So I met Tay when I was a sophomore in high school and she was a freshman at the time. We shared a business and marketing class together. That was how I became aware of her existence in the world, but we didn't sit next to each other. So we had it was one of those classes where you have assigned seating, but that's the seat that you sit in for the rest of the year, right? So it was assigned seating, but I was sitting with a certain group of people for the rest of the year. So there was sort of no need for me to talk to her, but I knew that she was in my class. But we would talk on occasion or time to time. Our class was pretty small, and so everyone kind of knew everybody. And so even though we had our spots in the class, everyone kind of chatted with everybody. So I would end up talking to her from time to time, but we were never friends. Another reason why we sort of talked a little bit more is she was close friends with some of my close guy friends in the class, or she wasn't close friends with them, but she talked to them a lot, which we'll get into. But these are my close friends, my close guy friends, and she would talk to them pretty frequently. And so we shared that mutual connection. I am gonna admit, okay, back in sophomore year, babes, I was the biggest pick me in this fucking planet. Okay, I was an insecure little bitch who had a low ass self-esteem and who hated herself and did not know the right vessels to get validation. And so what I would do is I would try and get external validation from the guys at her school, or guys on Instagram or Snapchat or whatever. So in classes and in class, I was constantly overly flirtatious with guys. It was a lot. And I was super flirty, and I would talk to all the guys and whatever. And these are the guys that I knew that I wasn't interested in, but I was flirty with them anyways. And I did this in order to get their attention, right? And to get their validation, and it did work short term, right? And it did give me that sort of spike of I'm desired, but in the long run it never helped with my self-esteem. It was never a sustainable thing to do long term. But I'm not like this anymore. I have changed and I have done a lot of work and a lot of therapy, and we're good now, girl. But being a former self-proclaimed pick me, I was able to notice my own people. One of the very first things that I noticed about Tay is that she was very bubbly and outgoing, very sweet, very easy to get along with, very charismatic and charming. And that was nice. That was something that I was. But she was mainly like this solely to the guys in our class and not to anybody else. Nobody else was afforded this luxury. Not the girls, girl. Not the girls, babe. No, only the guys were getting flirted with, no one else. Because of that, right? So we weren't close. She knew some of my mutual guy friends. We never sat next to each other. But I noticed her a lot more, right? She was sort of in my head a bit more because of the way she treated guys and the way she acted and her personality, and because she actually reminded me a lot of me. I was like, damn, it's another pick me. What she would do is she would always walk over to the guys' desk, so my guy friends, their desks, and like always just like laughing really loudly at their jokes. And mind you, I know that they're not fucking funny. Like I knew that they weren't funny, but she was always laughing at their jokes and whatever, and just doing the most. You could tell that it was just put on a little bit, and it was just a lot. And mind you, like I said before, she was a freshman, and I was a sophomore, but these guys were juniors, and I think that's also what she liked. She liked that they were older and that she was getting the attention of these older guys in the class, and that's what made her want to do it even more. And she would get attention from them, of course, because she had this like flirty banter, this charisma about her, and so the guys would all love it. They would all slurp it up, and she also was like fairly attractive. She was a fairly like cute girl, so like she would get this attention from them, and she would really like that. And so it would just be like a spiral, right? It would just be like not a spiral but a cycle. Me and Tay, like I mentioned before, we were cordial. We would talk from time to time. So our mutual guy friends and whatever. And I didn't see this behavior and I was like, ew, but I did think that it was a lot, right? I picked up on it and I thought that she was doing a lot because your girl was projecting. I was doing that, so I didn't like that she was doing that, right? And like I said, like especially when any girl tried to talk to her, she switched up and she was not as nice. You could see there was like a very clear difference in how she treated the guys for how she treated the girls. But again, like although like I picked up on this right away and it like made me notice her a little bit more, it was just something I noticed, right? Something I noticed about her before we actually truly became friends. During her freshman year, like 2022, she didn't seem to have many friends. And later, actually, when we became closer, she admitted to me that the girls in her grade didn't like her and that they like kind of bullied her and they ostracized her. Which, like, at the time when she told me about this, I was really sympathetic about it. I was like those girls, like, they're bitches, like, don't worry about them, like, whatever, like, you're too good for them. Looking back at this, it actually makes a lot of sense, and it was fairly telling why the girls in your grade, they all just collectively decide that they don't like you anymore. It made sense. Because she didn't have friends in her grade, she looked outwards, and she looked to the sophomores and the sophomore black girls, right? Don't ask me how she came to that conclusion, but she did. And she became friends with the older black girls at our school. And these girls became her main friends and her main friend group throughout the rest of high school. For context, Tay is half white and half Indian, but she looks racially ambiguous. She looks like she could be like Latina or like Middle Eastern, like, you know. So she's pretty racially ambiguous. And my school is predominantly white and Asian, and there weren't many black girls to go around in the first place, so it's just interesting that these were the people that she clung to and decided to build a community out of. But I'm not going to say anything about that, but make your own assumptions with that, with what you will. Now fast forward a year later, now it's like 2022, 2023, and I'm now a junior. Hardest year, which actually didn't end up being my hardest year. It was actually my hardest year for other reasons, but anyways, so now I'm a junior, Tay's a sophomore. I'm gonna like give a little bit of backstory. So I was a part of my school's BSU since I was a freshman because my sister actually started the club with one of her friends, so I ended up getting like a position in the club, kind of out of nepotism. But then later on, I ended up becoming vice president, like working my way into like a position and like doing the work to get there. And so I was always a part of like the Black Student Union in my school, so I had some black friends, but we weren't really that close. But like some of these black girls that were in our school, like, you know, they were in the club, and so we would talk and we were in proximity because of the Black Student Union. But throughout like since freshman year to junior year, I had like a main group of friends that were mainly East Asian and South Asian, and this was my main friend group. Like I wasn't looking to branch out or like I guess find a new friend group, and so these were my main friends. But when I got to my junior year, I actually started becoming a lot closer with these black girls that were in the BSU that were also Tay's friend group, like what we talked about. These are the friends that Tay became friends with. These are the people that I started becoming a little bit closer with a little bit in my junior year. Now because of this, like, mind you, I'm not like besties with these girls yet or anything, but because I was hanging out with them a little bit more and I was seeing them a little bit more, I was in closer proximity to Tay. Like I would see Tay a lot more than I did before, and we would hang out, like not like outside of school, but we would hang out a lot more than we did before. So this increased the amount that I would see Tay, and this increased the amount that she was part of my life, but we still never became close. during my junior year or sophomore year because these black girls weren't my main friend group, and so therefore Tay wasn't my main friend as well. Now, by the time senior year had rolled around, this is now like 2024, 2025. I'm a senior, Tay's a junior. By the time like this happened, like I was having like a whole revamp with my friends, right? Like that's a whole nother issue, a whole nother story time. But I decided that I wanted to have a new friend group, make new friends based off of like different interests, not just academics, and figure out like who my true people really were and who I genuinely connected with. And I wanted to be around a group of people who I felt comfortable with, because in my old friend group, I actually wasn't feeling too comfortable around it and was very competitive. So I decided, like, hey, I want to spend more time with these girls, like Tay's friend group, the black girls. I want to spend more time with them. Like, we connected, like, on different things. Like, when I had BSU with them and stuff, like, we connected on different things. And I realized, like, I want to spend more time with these girls. And I want them to be my main friend group now. Like, I want to put more of my energy into these girls. So I started hanging around these girls a lot more my senior year, and they were basically my new main friend group. So we would always sit together at lunch, we would hang out outside of school, we had our own little group chat. Like, these became my people, right? And I actually loved it. Like, it was really nice at the beginning. Like, I felt like I really built a community, especially being out of school where there's barely any black people to begin with. It was really, really nice. It just felt like just so calming and just so like low pressure, and just it was really nice. I really liked it. But of course, because these girls are now my people, my friend group, my girly pops, now I got a lot closer to Tay, right? Because this is her people, this is her friend group. And me and Tay started becoming pretty close, and I would have considered her like one of my closest friends at the time. But because I'm spending basically nearly all of my time with her and with them, that's when I started to pick up on her weird energy towards me. Now, at the beginning, they were pretty small things, like pretty benign, to the point where, like, if you pointed them out to anybody, anyone could be like, girl, like, no, that's not true. That's not what's happening. And they could be like pretty easily dismissed. One thing she would do often is when we were around our entire friend group, especially if our one like shared friend, who I'll call Coco, was there, she would make a great deal of effort to be so excited to see them, or be so happy and run up and hug Coco, or run up and hug our other friends and be like so affectionate towards them and like be so happy to see them. And then I was always just kind of sitting there, and she would never do that towards me. Now, because this was like so small of a thing at the time, mind you, this is like early senior year, so like fall, this is 24, so like fall time, because this was so small, I was like, maybe I'm just imagining it. Like, maybe the difference wasn't really happening. Like, I wasn't quite sure. I knew that I felt a little bit of something, like just a little bit weird, but I wasn't completely sure at the time if that's what was happening. First couple times she did this, I was like, okay, like, you're imagining this, right? Like, this is not happening. But then this exact pattern and behavior continued for weeks. These were my main friends right now, and so I was around them all the time, and being treated like this for weeks, it was starting to get to me, and I started feeling really uncomfortable, and I started feeling like ostracized in my own friend group. And I was like, no, this is not fucking happening, because that's exactly why I left my other friend group. This can't be happening again to me. Like, because at the time in my head I wasn't like, Tay doesn't like you. That's not how I felt. Like, maybe I did something to her. I felt like maybe there was something that I did and she was upset at me for something I did. So I decided to bring it up to Tay. And so I asked her if I did something wrong, and if like everything was okay between us, and if there's like, did I do something wrong? And she was like, girl, no, what are you talking? No, absolutely not. Like, I love you so much. Like, I'm sorry that I made you feel like you did something wrong. No. And I was like, oh my God. Because like, girl, as a girl who has, well, I have fearful avoidant attachment, but sometimes the anxious comes out a lot more in certain arenas. And so as a girl who overthinks everything, and a girl who has anxiety, I was like, oh my God, my head was spinning, because I thought like I did something wrong. But then when she reassured me and was like, no, I was like, okay, this is literally just me being crazy. And it was a good feeling. But although I am a girl who overthinks, I was not wrong. this pattern continued. It continued. After that whole fucking song and dance about how, no, I love you, girly pop. No, like, no, you never did anything wrong. This pattern continued and it got worse, right? Now, instead of her just ignoring me and just being overly affectionate with everybody else, now when I would literally talk to her, she was being terse. She was being rude. She was being so, like, just snippy and short with me for whatever reason. Like, she was irritated that I was even in her space and irritated that I was talking to her to begin with. But I was like, you know what? I did not do anything wrong. But she's clearly acting like this. I was like, you know what? This has been going on for a while now. She's clearly acting like this. But I know I didn't do anything wrong. So I came to my own conclusion that she's just not as close with me than with our other friends. I was like, she's closer to everyone else. And, you know, I was like, it makes sense because I joined the friend group. Remember, this was her girls since freshman year, right? But me, I'm coming in senior year, like, was not my people, right? So, like, I was like, okay, this is her friend group. I'm stepping in. Maybe she's just not as close with me, and that's okay. And so I was like, okay, whatever. I decided that I would just prioritize my, like, the other friends in the friend group, like Coco and everyone else, and I would just, like, not try as much with her because clearly she just wasn't as close with me, and that's okay. There's like nothing I can do about that, right? Now, I know like some of you may be like screaming at me through your phones or through your fucking devices right now, and you're like, bitch, why did you not just cut her off right then and there? Like, clearly she showed you multiple times that she didn't like you, and she lied about how you didn't do anything because you didn't, but he still treated you like shit. And guys, I know, you're right, I know, but I'm going to explain why I didn't cut her off entirely at this time, right? 1, I was stupid, but 2, her actions were very confusing. Tay was like an abusive, manipulative partner. Now, I'm not saying that she is abusive and manipulative, okay? I'm just saying she was kind of adjacent to a partner who does this, right? If the shoe fits. Because some days she would run up to me and hug me and tell me how beautiful I am and how much she just loves me and she loves our friendship and she's so grateful that I'm in her life. And I was like, okay, so clearly she doesn't hate me because she feels that way towards me. And so I pushed down like any reservations I had when that would happen. But then on the other days, which were most days, this is not what would happen. On most days, she was very irritated with me. She was ignoring me. She would like treat me poorly and she would bring me down slightly. And I think what happened was when she picked up that I was distancing myself from her or that I wasn't responding as positively towards her, then that's when she would like pivot into the overly affectionate, loving friend, and she would say all these things and she would be super sweet in one singular moment to keep me around. And then when she could see that I calmed down a bit, she would go back to being horrible. We would still text from time to time, and sometimes I would walk her to her classes or we would hang out in between classes, but I let myself create distance between us and it wasn't a thing that held me down. But then moving into the winter time, like end of fall, winter time, more things started happening, right? And she was doing the most, and it showed up in terms of men now, in terms of guys. For context, Tay would always talk about guys, like, and not in a bad way, but like, you know, as girls do. And she would talk about various guys that she was talking to at the time or that she liked, or like guys that she thought like were into her, right? And so like me and like our other friends, we would always hype her up and we would be like super supportive. We'd be like, yes, girl, go for him. Like, he definitely wants you. Like, you should go for him. Like, he's cute, whatever. Even if these guys were like ugly ass bums, we would still support her, right? But the tune changed a little bit when it came to us. When it was me or our other friends talking about a guy or bringing up a guy, she immediately shut the conversation down. She didn't want to hear it. And at the time, I thought that she only did this with me, but later on, I noticed that she did this with like all of our other friends too, and it wasn't just me. But she would shut the conversation down. She would say that the guy's ugly. He's not a girl. He's ugly. You're too good for him. Don't pursue him. He's so disgusting, bro. He's not worth your time. And like the way she said it, like you would think, oh, okay, maybe she just like has a really high view of me and she doesn't like want me to go with a bum. But even though she was getting with bums and we still supported that, whatever, I was like, okay. I did think it was weird, but I was like, all right. Like, she could just be doing that because she is trying to protect us or something. But it was weird, right? Mind you, our entire friend group was black other than her. But anyways, just letting you guys know. But it's like when it came to us, we weren't allowed to talk to guys or have guys be interested in us and wanting to pursue us. That wasn't allowed, but for her it was. And then she did this with my ex, who we'll call Kenny. Some hindsight that will be relevant later is Tay had a crush on Kenny in freshman year, and she tried to pursue him, but he wasn't really feeling it. And also he had a girlfriend at the time too, but he wasn't really interested and he didn't really reciprocate. But I did not know this until a lot later. Now, Kenny is, I would say, objectively attractive. Like, he's the type of person that you would see and you would be like, that is a fine man. Negating personality, negating everything else, you just look at this man physically and you're like, yeah, that's a fine looking man. He's 6'3". He was incredibly built for his age, especially for like a high school boy. He was very built. He was a little skater boy and he had like really nice features. And he was known like in his grade and even like with other grades to be like the hot, tall Asian, right? Keep that in mind. Children, keep that in mind. So now we're getting to like sort of the winter time a little bit, and it's still 2024. But one time, me and Tay were sitting in my friend Coco's car at lunch with our other friend, and then Tay was there, and we were talking about like guys in the junior class, because Kenny was a junior at the time, who we thought were attractive. And so I brought up Kenny because I'd seen him around. He was in one of my classes, but we never talked or anything. But I'd seen him around and I was like, yeah, I think that guy is attractive. Never talked to him at the time. Guys, immediately Tay shut it down. She was like, absolutely not. He's disgusting. He's gross. It was so dramatic that I was like, girl, what did he do to you? What did he do? But she was like, no, he's so ugly. He's gross. He's not a good pick. My God, just really talking him down, right? And I thought this was a little strange because, like I mentioned before, like a lot of people, like most people thought he was attractive. Like he's objectively a good looking man, like disregarding anything else that can make you find somebody unattractive if we're just looking at physicality, right? So I was like, girl. But I was like, you know what? Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Beauty's subjective. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. So like, whatever. Okay, she doesn't have to find him attractive. Even though she did like him freshman year, but whatever. I didn't know that at the time. So fast forward a month or so, I started talking to Kenny. This was in December. So we're wintertime. And God help me for the decisions I made, but I decided to bring this up to Tay. I don't really know why. But she immediately was turned off by this fact. Oh my God. She went on and on about how he was a man whore. He's a player. He's disgusting. He's not going to treat you right. Like, that's a horrible, like, you should not go for him. Like, he definitely would not actually like you. All this type of stuff. And I was like, okay. I listened to her yap, right? But a lot of people at the time had pretty negative assumptions about him because of his physicality, right? And of course, Tay was one of them. And so I didn't really want to take her opinions of him and have it sway my perception of him. So I listened to this, but I was like, okay, I'm not going to have this affect how I like treat him or whatever. Or like December, January, and like now we're getting into like 2025, January. This was just not the case, though, for Kenny. He wasn't a man whore or a player. He was actually an incredibly sweet and caring individual. He was very loving. He's just a little broken person who had a lot of stuff going on, but he was an amazing person, honestly. And he actually cared a lot about having a genuine relationship. So now we're like in January, February-ish. But Tay, during this time, always had something negative to say about him, right? So, like, I learned pretty quickly not to bring him up to Tay. Like, I made that mistake early on, telling her that I was talking to him. That was my bad. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to talk to her about it. Clearly, she doesn't like talking about him. That's fine. But she was on my close friend story on Instagram, so I would post about him from time to time, as one does. And she would slide up and ask questions, but then she would get mad at the answers if they were positive, right? She never wanted to talk about him if it was something positive. She would actually get irritated if it was positive. She only wanted to hear about the negative. And she never supported the relationship. She hated it. She didn't seem to have any real reason because she had her assumptions. And then I showed her that those assumptions were wrong, but she still hated him. No, not hated him, the relationship. Fast forward to like March, April-ish. Me and Kenny ended up breaking things off. We stayed friends, and now like May was rolling around, like April, May, and prom was rolling around, and so we decided to go to prom together. Which, guys, just don't do that. Don't go to prom with your ex. It's not a good no. That particular night, prom night, and the days leading up to it is when I knew, like, I started putting the pieces of the puzzle together and I knew that Tay didn't like me or respect me. And then the days following prom is when I cut her off. When Tay found out, like, a couple weeks before prom that I was going with Kenny, she was not thrilled at all. She was not excited about this. She was actually pretty upset. I didn't even tell her. She just found out and then she's getting irritated. And she would just take every chance she got to make fun of him and just bring him down. And so in my eyes, I was like, Tay must really not like Kenny at all. Like, not only does she not like our, like, relationship, because at the time we weren't even dating, but we kind of were, but not only does she not like us together, but she clearly does not like Kenny. Keep that in mind. Before prom, before all of this, going back a little bit, there were things that she did in general that weren't specifically targeted towards me, but that she did with our other friends that I did not like. She started talking and nearly dating one of our friends' like crushes or like ex crushes. And I thought that was really weird. And I like kind of brought it up to her, and then how she like responded to it was just kind of like, well, clearly he's not attracted to her. And I was like, girl, okay. And then she did this multiple times, not just with that one friend, but she did it with Coco, where Coco, mind you, Coco didn't even like the guy. Coco just kind of breathed that she thought the guy was cute, and then in the blink of an eye, she started snapping him. She got his snap. They were texting in the middle of the night, and she would show this to Coco. And this was a pattern with her. It was a pattern that I noticed, that she would try to take our men blatantly, and that she didn't respect our men. Like, you know how I talked about before, freshman year, she was a pick-me and she like flirted with a bunch of guys and whatever. Like, okay, I got that because back in the day, I was a pick-me too. But I drew a line between how pick-me I was. I would never try and steal my friends' men, or taken guys for that matter. But she didn't care. Those were the ones she liked the most. She did not care. She did not respect us at all. And it was the guys that when we mentioned we liked them or we thought they were cute, she'd be like, oh my God, he's gross, he's disgusting. And then she turned around, started talking to him and was like, girl, I think I like him, he's cute, blah, blah, blah. Wasn't he gross and disgusting 2 seconds ago? Anyway, this was her pattern, right? Before May, like this entire year, this was her pattern of behavior, right? And so I had a strong feeling, because she was in her prom group. Although she was a junior, she wanted to come to our prom. And so I had a strong feeling that she would try some bullshit with Kenny, and this would happen on prom night. And although technically Kenny and I had broken things off, everyone kind of knew, like, okay, they didn't really break things off. Like, they still like each other. They're still kind of dating, like, but they just say that they're just friends. But, like, clearly, you know. But I told myself, like, a couple days before prom, that if Tay tried any bullshit with Kenny, that was it. She was done. Like, it's not even like she's just an acquaintance that I don't really talk to. I prioritize my other friends. No, she was done, gone, out of my life. The day before prom, Kenny had made a promposal and was planning to bring the poster to my house. And he was coordinating like all the details of like when to bring it over and like how to do it with my friend Coco that we mentioned before. Coco, not being able to keep anything to herself, told me all of this. I love her, but she told me all of this. She was like, girl, he's planning a little promposal for you. And she like sent me like there's text and was like, yeah, he just wants to know like when you're going to be at his house, what should I tell him, all of that type of stuff, right? But the important fact here is that Coco and Kenny were planning the promposal. Coco and Kenny. But then I get a text from Tay. She was telling me that she was planning the promposal with Kenny. Girl, no, you're not. No, you're not. What are you talking about? I was like, what the fuck is she? No, she's not. She was telling me that they were texting back and forth. And I'm like, what the fuck is she talking about? So I ask more questions about it. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, he's planning it with Coco. Like, what are you talking about? And she was like, well, I got his number because, like, you know, Coco wasn't doing it well, and, like, you know, I think she was, like, busy for a little bit so she couldn't respond, and so, like, I decided to step in and help, you know? I'm like, girl, I don't know why you had to wiggle your ass into this and get yourself involved just to text my man. But whatever, you know, this was off-putting to me, but at this point in time, I was this close to cutting this bitch out of my life. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'd already distanced myself. I was already slowly pushing myself away. I was like, whatever the fuck. I was like, whatever. Prom is tomorrow. I don't have time for drama right now. I don't have time to have a whole discussion about how get the fuck out of my no, I'll promise tomorrow. Let me just keep my composure. So I started texting Coco about it and to figure out where she was at, but she wasn't responding because she was a little bit busy, right? But Tay kept texting me and she started sending me screenshots of their texts. And in the screenshots, she was doing a lot. Her texts were incredibly playful and flirty for no reason, but it was really hilarious because Kenny wasn't having any of it. Kenny was actually being kind of rude to her, truthfully. He was being pretty dry and pretty short. But I swear, I knew that she just sent me those fucking screenshots just to be like, look, I got your man. But no, bitch, you didn't. Kenny was not having any of it. He ended up not responding to Tay after a little bit, coordinated with Coco. He eventually got the poster to me and he did his little promposal. Now we get to prom day. Me and Kenny, because naturally, him being my date and we still had feelings for each other, we were pretty close, like, the whole time. Like, during pictures, during, like, dinner, during whatever, we were pretty close, right? We were arm in arm, like, a disgusting little couple, and we'd always, like, walk off and, like, whisper to each other, and, like, he was, like, giving me his jacket, and we were just, like, so, like, gross and cute. Now, everyone in our prom group kind of knew this, right? And they would make jokes about it. They're like, oh my god, here the old couple goes again. Like, oh my god. But, like, they were, like, they were chill with it. Wait, I'm sorry. Did I say everyone? No, I'm sorry. I meant everybody except for Tay. Tay started acting incredibly rude towards me. Anytime that I was, like, off, like, especially during pictures, when I was off talking with Kenny, because everyone was kind of ignoring Kenny, right? I was off talking to Kenny, and I would come back for pictures or whatever. She was so short and she was so rude with me. And there was one time where I was wearing his coat because I was cold and she blatantly was just like, take that shit off. Anyway, so after pictures, we went back to her place before dinner just to, like, relax a little bit, like, rest our feet, take a little bit of a break, a little bit of a breather, right, and chill. And so I was laying on the couch resting with some of the other prom girls, and Kenny was over by the kitchen. And we were at her place, right? So Kenny was over by the kitchen because he was hungry and he wanted something to eat before dinner. And so he asked Tay if there was anything that he could, like, munch on, right? And so Tay came over. Being the jealous bitch that I was, I, like, peeked over because I was, like, lying on the couch and they were over, like, by the kitchen area. And so I, like, peeked over the couch to, like, see their conversation. And when I was peeking over, he saw me, right? She was talking to him. She saw me. She looked over. She smirked and then she went into full bitch mode, bruh. She started flirting with him about some fucking blueberries. She started touching his arm. She was doing the most. She's like, oh my god, yeah, like, I was like, what the hell, Leonte? Girl, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But Kenny wasn't really reciprocating, right? But I was looking the whole time. But I wasn't gonna do anything. Because technically we're not dating, so you can do whatever you want to do, but just no. And so Kenny ended up looking over at me, and he saw me looking, and I, like, ducked back behind the couch. I was like, oh shit. And then he came over, like a good little boy, and sat next to me right after that, because he saw that I was not fucking with that. I could tell he sensed that I didn't like what was going on, right? But Tay didn't stop. No, she didn't stop. She came over to the couch now. After the whole blueberry fiasco, she came over to the couch. And, girl, mind you, we're all sitting on the couch normally. But I swear on my life, I was not imagining this. She shoved her entire ass out, back arched, right so that he could see, because she was right in his line of sight. Back arched, smirking a little bit, glancing over at him, twirling her hair. What do you think you're doing? I couldn't do anything. I almost could have laughed. Because one, clearly he's not interested in you. You've tried 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 times. Hasn't he made it obvious? Hasn't he made it clear? Want him to spell it out for you? FRINDS. Okay. Like, and she's still trying. Since freshman year, this girl's been down bad. Anyway, that moment, I was like, no, I'm done with her. She's a weirdo. No. I'm done. But I didn't say anything, okay, because it was still prom. We still had things to do. And so I couldn't make things weird. But I knew. Now we get to dinner, and a couple things happened that were memorable at dinner. She really, really wanted to sit next to him. It didn't end up working out that way. But I'm like, girl, leave him alone. She also ended up buying him, like, a birthday dessert. Why? It wasn't that man's birthday. A lady came over and sang to him it wasn't his birthday. Why? Whatever. Kenny was pretty respectful, and mature about the entire thing, right? Like, because he wasn't interested. He still, like, we still kind of had our thing going on. And so I really applaud him for that. But we ended up leaving together, which I can tell Tay didn't like. But, anyways, prom, after we parted ways, because they went to the actual prom, me, Kenny, and some of our other friends went bowling and did some other stuff. That was nice. That was a great part of the night. And so, like, stuff wasn't ruined because of Tay. But after a couple days, like, after that whole shit show, and I had time to, like, process everything and, like, figure out what I was gonna say, I texted her and I was like, we're done. One, I don't like how you acted around Kenny. And two, I don't like how you've acted around other guys that our friends have been into as well. And I just don't like your behavior. And I just think that it's time for us to part ways. But I wish you no ill will. But I think it's time for us to, this is our closure. This is our end. She never responded. No, she never did. And that was the last time we ever spoke. Now, oh my God, I'm trying not to get heated because I'm just like thinking back. It was crazy how much he was trying to, like, it was actually, it's ridiculous, really. It was ridiculous. But looking back at the whole situation, there were a lot of things I would have wanted to do differently and a lot of warning signs that I kind of ignored. Like, I definitely should have cut her off a lot sooner. Now, if you're in a situation similar to this, or you know someone who is, please don't ignore how you feel. Please don't brush it off. Don't be like, okay, I'm dumb. Even if you bring it up to them and they're like, no, girl, you're delusional. No, you're not. What you're feeling is, you're feeling what you're feeling. Now, my friend Coco is actually still friends with Tay. I don't know why. Tay is a horrible friend to her, but whatever. Personally, I am not going to try to influence other people to not be friends with other people if they don't want to cut off the friendship. I just told Coco, like, see how you feel. See if you feel like you're valued by her, if you're respected by her, if she treats you well, then you keep the friendship. But if you don't feel that way, then maybe, But I was never gonna influence her. I don't know why she's so friends with her, but whatever. But she never wanted, because Coco's not a confrontational person. She's very sweet, but she's not confrontational. Never wanted to bring this up. Don't be Coco, please. Don't be Coco. Don't stay in a bad relationship or friendship because of not wanting to be confrontational. Girl, you're harming yourself in the process, and that person's getting away with their harm. That's the end of that tumultuous story about how I found out that my friend genuinely did not fuck with me the entire time and probably wanted me to jump off the nearest cliff. Now, if you guys want like a separate video where I go more into depth on like recognizing the signs and like knowing how to cut the person off and like, or knowing when to cut the person off and how to cut the person off, I can do that. I just wanted to focus this video more on like my own experience, and it's like long as hell anyways. Now, if you stayed watching until the very end, thank you so much. Here's a little heart, little kissy. Thank you so much. Let me know if you guys have had any similar experiences in the comments below, and also let me know your thoughts in general on this video and any recommendations. Now I finally got into a groove. I'm sorry, my posts have been so sporadic. I finally got into a groove, like what to post and everything. Don't worry about it. We'll get some good uploads in the future. And I got a mic too, so we're chilling. But thank you guys all so much for watching. Bye bye.